At the class party after the SATs, someone suggested playing a game of Expose Your Friends. In the first round, the bottle spun and pointed at Chloe Jenkins and me. She jumped at the chance to speak first. Sera never wears skirts because she has a massive, ugly scar on her thigh that looks like a giant centipede. In an instant, everyone's eyes locked onto my legs, covered by my long jeans. Only Ethan Sinclair knew about that scar. He had promised me he would keep it a secret forever. Yet right now, he was laughing the loudest. Yeah, it's honestly super gross. Ethan chimed in. When it was my turn to speak, Ethan suddenly covered my mouth. The crowd started teasing us. Oh, come on. You're being way too protective, Ethan. Sera hasn't even exposed Chloe yet, and you're already shielding her. No way, you and Chloe have to kiss as a penalty. With a flushed face, Ethan grabbed Chloe by the back of her neck and kissed her deeply right in front of everyone. The air conditioning in the room blasted cold air over me, making me shiver. I placed my hand on my thigh, the exact spot where I had received 42 stitches years ago to save Ethan's life. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Lucas Vance. Come to Harvard with me. Let's go to the same college, please. I typed back. Okay. After returning from the restroom, I overheard people chatting and mentioning my name. Ethan, did your little childhood friend run off to cry because her secret was exposed? By the way, have you actually seen her scar? Ethan had a look of pure disgust on his face. Yeah, I've seen it. Trust me, it's the kind of scar you only want to see once in your life. Chloe leaned close to Ethan's side. How about you purposely lose the next round? Choose dare, and pull her pants up so we can all get a look. Ethan carelessly wrapped his arm around her waist. Why waste a game on that? I don't even need to ask twice. One word from me, and she'll take them off and show me herself. Chloe's eyes lit up with excitement. I want to take a picture. Me too, another classmate yelled. Ethan stood up, clapping his hands. Anyone else want to see? Let me know, and I'll make sure she shows you for a little longer. I gripped the door handle, my knuckles turning white. When I was 10, Ethan and I went to the grocery store. A sudden gust of wind blew a heavy metal billboard down, heading straight for him. I pushed him out of the way. The sharp metal sheet sliced deep into my thigh. Blood wouldn't stop gushing, and I almost lost my leg. I cried for 2 days and nights in the hospital. Ethan stayed by my side, carefully helping me apply my ointment. The boy who swore he would never find it ugly, the boy who promised never to tell a soul, was now using my pain to entertain the crowd. Seeing me walk back in, Chloe gave Ethan a look. Ethan looked at my thighs with a playful smirk. Sera, this might be the last time we all hang out. Since we're classmates, why don't you let everyone see your scar? I tightly shielded my legs. No. Ethan's face hardened, and his brows furrowed. It's just a scar, what's the big deal? Stop being so dramatic. Chloe stepped in to play the peacemaker. Sera, are you mad because I took your turn during the game earlier? You really don't know how to take a joke. She playfully tapped Ethan's back and turned to me. Sera, see? I hit him for you. Are you happy now? I said no. Ethan pulled Chloe back. Don't waste your breath on her. 2 minutes later, everyone's phone buzzed. Except mine. Everyone stared at their screens for a few seconds, then looked at me, stifling their laughter. Chloe patted my shoulder. Sera, the scar isn't even that bad. Why are you hiding it? Girls need to be confident. She shoved her phone in front of my face. Ethan had posted a photo of my freshly stitched thigh from years ago into the Snapchat group. The photo was so high up it even showed my underwear. A wave of anger and humiliation washed over me. Ethan, you spoil Chloe too much. But her SAT scores aren't as good as yours. When she gets bullied in college, are you going to fly over to save her? It's just a matter of skipping a few math questions on purpose, so we end up at the same place, Ethan said casually. Chloe spoke in a sweet, whiny voice. Did you change your college application without telling Sera? She's going to cry herself to death if she doesn't go to the same school as you. I know her, Ethan sneered. She'll follow me no matter what. A genius girl going to a local community college for love? That's going to be front-page news. 3 years ago, he told me, if you tutor me so we can go to the same college, we never have to be apart. Because of those words, I chased after him for 3 years. Every single weekend, rain or shine, I went to his house to tutor him. The dark circles under my eyes were the result of staying up late for 3 years, preparing study guides, organizing his mock exams, and making study plans. But my 3 years of hard work had turned into a joke in his mouth. My phone alarm went off, reminding me to finalize my college enrollment. I opened the portal and changed my choice to Harvard University, thousands of miles away. To each their own. This time, I was done chasing him. What are you looking at? Chloe suddenly leaned over. I locked my screen. Nothing. I clearly saw you changing your college portal. Sera, are you really retaking the SATs just for Ethan? Before I could argue, Chloe patted my shoulder. It's fine, I know you're embarrassed. You want to surprise him, right? I won't tell. The party ended quickly. When I walked out, Ethan was nowhere to be seen. I waited for half an hour until everyone had left, but he still didn't show up. Has Ethan not come out yet? I asked a classmate. He left ages ago. He got in an Uber with Chloe. But before the party, he had told me to wait for him at the entrance. Just then Ethan called. Are you out yet? It's late, and it's not safe for Chloe to go home alone. I'll drop her off first and then come back to get you. Chloe's voice came through the speaker. Sera, if you're in a hurry, I can let him go back for you right now. What rush could she possibly be in? Ethan snapped. Besides, it's about to storm, and you're terrified of thunder. I need to stay with you. A sudden crack of thunder sounded, and the line went dead. When we were kids and I was terrified of thunder, I begged Ethan to walk with me to school. He complained I was a nuisance and walked faster to leave me behind. Now, not only did he remember Chloe's fear of thunder, but he also insisted on staying with her. I bit my lip hard to keep the tears from falling. Chloe's house was only 7 miles away, but an hour and a half passed and Ethan still hadn't returned. I opened Instagram. He had posted a story. My little greedy girl got hungry again, so I had to take her out for round 2. The picture showed the two of them feeding each other at a restaurant. I stared at the food on the table. Ethan had never cooked for me, nor had he ever taken me to a nice dinner. He only ever criticized my Uber Eats orders, telling me, "Stop eating junk, it's bad for you." I looked down at my soaked dress, laughed at my own stupidity, and called an Uber home. By dawn my body was aching. I checked my temperature, 100.8 degrees Fahrenheit. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Ethan. A tiny spark of hope flared in my chest. Chloe's swim goggles broke. Buy a new pair and bring them over. No explanation for why he never came back for me. No question about whether I made it home safe. Just treating me like an errand girl. Go directly to the pro shop downtown. Don't get the rubber ones, Chloe is allergic. Going downtown and back would take 2.5 hours. To make sure they had them when they woke up to go swimming, he texted me before the sun was even up. I didn't reply and closed Snapchat. I slept again, and when I woke up, my fever was gone. Ethan called again. Why aren't you replying? Did you get the goggles? Chloe is waiting. Can you hurry up? In the past, when I asked him to teach me how to swim, he always said he was too busy with school, and we would do it after the SATs. It had been weeks since exams ended, and he hadn't mentioned it once. Instead, he was teaching Chloe. I have a fever. Silence on the other end. Don't you have anything else to say? I asked. You clearly have enough energy to argue with me, which means you're fine. Drop them off at the pool near Chloe's house. Don't go to the wrong one. I didn't go. I warmed up some food instead. I remembered my library books were due today. After returning them, I checked out 2 more books. Walking out of the library, I saw Chloe and Ethan buying matching bracelets at a boutique. Ethan threw the braided friendship bracelet on his wrist into a trash can and replaced it with a pink one that matched Chloe's. That braided bracelet was a good luck charm I had spent hours making for him before the exams. Sera? What are you doing here? Chloe asked. Ethan pulled her back. Stay away from her. You might catch whatever she has. Chloe pointed at the books in my hand. Oh, I really wanted to read that book. But they were all out. Do you mind if I borrow it first? Before I could answer, Ethan snatched the book from my hands. Go read something else, he told Chloe. Then he turned to me. Besides, you need to study to retake your exams next year. Reading novels will only distract you. That book was out of print, and I had waited on a wait list for months to get it. I stepped forward to grab it back, but Ethan blocked me and shoved me away. My body was still weak from the fever. My legs gave out, and I fell hard onto the concrete. A sharp, needle-like pain shot through my lower back. You claimed you had a fever, and I let the goggles slide. But I didn't expect you to be healthy enough to wander around and fight over a book. Sera, I really underestimated your ability to lie. Go home and think about what you did. Don't contact me until you've cleared your head. As I applied ointment to my bruises at home, I told my mom I wanted to pack our things and move early. I asked her to come with me to Boston. My mom didn't ask a single question. She just nodded and agreed. Once I left this place, I was never coming back. And I never wanted to see him again. The next morning, Ethan's mom, Karen Sinclair, came over to chat with my mom. Ethan and Chloe came along too. He walked into my room without knocking and threw the book onto my desk. The cover smelled like spicy Cheetos, and there were greasy fingerprints all over the pages. The book was checked out under my name. Any damage meant I would have to pay for it. You need to pay for this, I said. Ethan picked it up, sniffed it, and said with annoyance, It's just a few grease spots. Why are you being so dramatic? Anyone can make a mistake. Is it really necessary to make a big deal out of a stupid book? I didn't hold back this time. The library rules state that if you damage a book, you replace it. Buy a new copy and return it to them. Chloe nodded submissively. Okay, Ethan, it was my fault anyway. Don't yell at her. Sera, how much is it? I'll Venmo you. As Chloe reached for her phone, Ethan snatched it away, his voice cold. Don't pay her. I don't believe she doesn't have the money for this. Let her figure it out herself. I couldn't stand looking at them anymore, so I walked into the living room. Karen Sinclair glanced at me. The book is still readable, isn't it? It's just a book. Don't ruin your friendships over something so small. She had always treated me poorly. When I was in the hospital after getting 42 stitches, she came to visit, saw that Ethan was fine, and said, "Thank God you're okay, sweetie. Her scar doesn't look that bad anyway. You don't need to feel guilty, Ethan. She chose to push you. We didn't force her. Let's get out of this hospital, it's full of germs. I'll make you a nice steak at home." From beginning to end, she only glanced at my leg once. She never offered a single word of thanks or comfort. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a text from Lucas. "Sera, I just got my official Harvard admission letter. Did yours arrive yet?" I replied with a photo of my own Harvard admission letter. "Awesome. You should fly out early. I can show you around the campus." There was indeed no reason for me to stay here any longer, I replied. I booked my flight for next week. I had no energy left to argue with anyone in the living room. As I turned to leave, Karen grabbed my sleeve, stopping me. "You tutored Ethan every single day. How did he only get into a community college while you did so well? Did you not actually put any effort into helping him?" Ethan added, "She was probably too busy focusing on her own studies. He was the one who threw the exam on purpose, yet to save face, he threw me under the bus." Chloe blushed and said, "Mrs. Sinclair, Ethan and I are going to the same college. I'll make sure to watch over him for you." Karen patted her hand, smiling warmly. "I feel so much better with you around. You're such a sweet, honest girl. Not like some girls who only care about themselves and don't care about anyone else." I clenched my fists so hard my fingernails dug into my palms. All those 3 years of devotion felt completely worthless. Every time I went to Ethan's house to tutor him, his mother would either chop vegetables loudly or blast the TV. She always made so much noise. I couldn't teach him at a normal volume, so I had to strain my voice and yell. My throat would be burning by the end of the night, and I was never even offered a glass of water. Now I had to carry throat lozenges with me everywhere, because my vocal cords were permanently damaged. The next day, I saw Chloe's TikTok video of her at an exclusive, invite-only art exhibition. Our classmates were commenting in envy. I tried getting tickets to this 3 times with 20 friends and couldn't get one. How did you guys get in? So lucky. Are you two secretly dating? Where's Ethan's little shadow today? Ethan replied, "She didn't have a ticket. It's better this way, she's annoying anyway." I zoomed in on the background of the video. It was an exhibition by a famous European painter that I absolutely adored. The ticket included a private signing session and limited edition merchandise. I had begged my mom to use all her connections just to secure 2 tickets. I had planned to ask Ethan to go with me. I guess I would be going with my mom instead. I went to find the book where I had tucked the tickets. The book had been knocked over, but I didn't think much of it. However, when I flipped through the pages, the tickets were gone. I remembered Ethan entering my room to grab something before he left yesterday. A surge of anger rushed to my chest. I was about to comment "thief" under Chloe's video, but when I hit submit, the video vanished. Her profile showed she had blocked me. I opened Ethan's chat. I remembered when we first officially became a couple, he had kissed me gently on the cheek. I had waited 3 years for that day, but only 2 months had passed, and I wanted nothing to do with him. I typed out a line. "Let's break up." I left my suitcases in our front yard while my aunt and I went out for a 2-day trip. When I got back, my suitcases were gone. I walked over to Ethan's house. Chloe was there too. They had my suitcases open on the living room floor, going through my things and making a complete mess. "Ethan, I love this limited edition t-shirt. It'll look so good on me for freshman orientation," Chloe squealed. "Take it," Ethan said carelessly. "She has so many nice toiletries here. I'm going to save so much money on college shopping." I pushed the door open. "Who gave you permission to touch my suitcases?" Ethan scoffed. "Oh, stop acting. Chloe told me you're planning to retake your SATs anyway. You won't be needing these things this year. You can just buy new ones next year." I screamed at them. Going through my personal property without my permission is theft. They ignored me and kept digging through my clothes. Suddenly, Chloe gasped. "An admission letter? From Harvard?" Ethan laughed, snatching it from her hand. "Wow, this fake looks pretty realistic. Did you print this out to motivate yourself? Honestly, you'd be better off printing out my acceptance letter and hanging it on your wall." I lunged to grab it, but Ethan stepped back, threw the letter onto the floor, and ground his dirty shoe into it. The mud from his sneaker stained the words, "Harvard University." "Give it back," I screamed, my voice raw with rage. Ethan smirked, twisting his foot back and forth on the paper. With a loud rip, the letter tore in half. That letter was my late father's biggest dream for me. I hadn't even had the chance to bring it to his grave to show him, and Ethan had just destroyed it. Sera, I'm just trying to help you face reality. Stop living in a fantasy world, Ethan said. He kicked my suitcase over, grabbed a bucket of dirty car wash water nearby, and poured it over everything. My admission letter, along with all the rare, out-of-print books my father had left me, was completely soaked in muddy water. I threw myself forward to stop them. Don't go. You're going to pay for this. Ethan stuck his foot out. I tripped and fell face first onto the gravel. My loose pant leg rolled up, exposing the long, ugly centipede-like scar. Ethan immediately spun Chloe around to shield her eyes. Don't look, it's disgusting. He picked up a wooden broom nearby and jabbed the end of it right into my scar. The sharp splinters pierced my skin, and blood quickly began to seep through. I winced but didn't cry out. You don't need to keep using this scar to guilt-trip me, Ethan sneered. It just makes you look desperate. I stood up, holding the torn pieces of my admission letter tightly against my chest. My phone buzzed. A notification popped up. Your flight departs in 24 hours. I handed our house keys to the real estate agent, grabbed my ruined suitcase, and left for the airport with my mom. The red-eye flight to Boston was quiet, save for the low hum of the jet engines. Outside my window, as the plane banked over the glittering skyline of Massachusetts, I pulled the battered metal tin from my purse, the one containing the leftover pieces of my father's rare art books and the torn muddy corner of my Harvard admission letter. At the gate, I walked over to a recycling bin, held the tin over the slot, and tipped it sideways. The paper scraped against the plastic liner and vanished into the dark. My mother stood beside me, adjusting her wool coat. She reached out gently, tucking a stray lock of hair behind my ear. She didn't offer empty words of comfort, nor did she bring up the bruises on my arms or the lingering gash on my thigh where Ethan's broomstick had punctured my skin. She simply held my hand, her grip warm and solid. Ready, sweetheart? She asked softly. Ready, I said. When we stepped into the arrival hall at Logan International Airport, a tall boy, wearing a navy Harvard sweater, was leaning against a pillar, holding 2 paper cups of hot coffee. It was Lucas Vance. Seeing me walk out, his face lit up into a bright, easy smile. He strode over, taking my heavy coat and slinging my carry-on bag over his shoulder as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Welcome to Boston, Sera, Lucas said, handing me one of the cups. It's 60 degrees, the foliage along the Charles River is turning red, and your dorm key is waiting at the registrar's office. I took a sip. It was a warm, sweet hazelnut latte, my favorite flavor, though I had never told him. He looked down at my face, his eyes lingering briefly on the faint scratch on my cheekbone, but he didn't pry. Instead, he smiled gently. You look tired. I booked a driver for your mom, and I've got a tour planned for campus tomorrow, whenever you're rested. Looking at Lucas, his calm, respectful demeanor, his effortless confidence, I felt a strange wave of relief wash over me. For 3 years, I had believed that love meant walking on eggshells, begging for a crumb of attention, and sacrificing my own dignity to keep a boy from throwing tantrums. I had thought that endured pain was the price of companionship. Standing beside Lucas, I finally realized how wrong I had been. Real care didn't demand sacrifice. It simply held out a warm cup of coffee on a crisp morning and opened the door for you. Back in our home state, Monday morning brought the start of orientation week at the local community college. The campus parking lot was packed with beaten-up sedans and used hatchbacks. Ethan sat in the driver's seat of his car, resting his wrists on the steering wheel, his eyes scanning every girl walking through the main gates. It was already 9:30 a.m. Chloe sat in the passenger seat, carefully applying lip gloss in the vanity mirror. Ethan, sweetie, can you hand me my bag from the back? Ethan didn't move. His eyebrows were knit tight. Where is she? Chloe paused, turning to him with a pouting expression. Who? Sera? I told you. She's probably sitting at home crying, waiting for you to call her and apologize. She's just playing hard to get. No, Ethan muttered, pulling out his phone. She always shows up. Even when she's mad, she always follows me. He unlocked his phone and opened Snapchat. He tapped on Sera's profile, intending to send a sharp message demanding to know why she wasn't at orientation. A red exclamation mark flashed on the screen. Failed to send. You are no longer friends with this user. Ethan stared at the screen, a sudden uncomfortable knot tightening in his stomach. He opened his phone app and dialed her number. The number you have dialed is no longer in service or has been changed. What the hell? Ethan gritted his teeth, his knuckles turning white around his phone. Chloe giggled, adjusting her hair. She changed her number just to get your attention. She wants you to go to her house and beg. Ethan, don't give in. If you ignore her for 3 days, she'll come running back to your front porch, like she always does. Before Ethan could reply, his phone rang. It was his mother, Karen. Ethan clicked speakerphone. Mom. What is it? I'm at orientation. Karen's voice came through the speaker, high-pitched and breathless with confusion. Ethan. Have you talked to Sera's mother today? No, Ethan scoffed. Why? I just walked over to their house to drop off some dry cleaning, Karen said, her tone laced with irritation. The front door was wide open and there were 3 movers carrying out the last of their furniture. I tried asking her mother where they were taking things, but her mother just looked at me like I was a beggar and handed me an envelope. Ethan's heart gave a sudden, violent thud. What envelope? A legal notice from a law firm. Karen yelled. It says we are being formally sued for property destruction, assault, and unlawful entry. It mentions some ancient out-of-print books and sentimental items worth over $30,000. What were you two doing in her room on Friday? Ethan's phone nearly slipped from his fingers. $32,000. That's insane. It was just a few old books and some dusty papers. And that's not all. Karen shrieked over the line. I called the real estate agent whose sign was in their lawn. Do you know what he told me? He said Sera's mother sold the house 3 weeks ago. They cleared out their bank accounts and moved out of state permanently on Saturday morning. The air inside the car seemed to turn to ice. Chloe's lip gloss stopped mid-stroke. She stared at Ethan in shock. Moved out of state. But she didn't even apply anywhere else. Ethan didn't hear her. His head was spinning, a sharp, ringing noise echoing in his ears. Moved out of state permanently. Saturday morning. He remembered Saturday morning. He had stood in her driveway, watching her pick up her wet, torn papers from the gravel. He had pushed a broomstick into her scar, laughing while her blood stained her pants. He had told her to stop living in a fantasy world. And all the while, her flight to the other side of the country was less than 24 hours away. She hadn't been begging for his forgiveness. She hadn't been waiting for him to notice her. She had simply been waiting for her plane to take off. Ethan didn't stay for orientation. He threw the car into reverse, ignoring Chloe's startled shrieks, and slammed his foot on the gas. He drove like a madman straight to our old high school, pulling up outside the administrative building. He sprinted through the hallway, his sneakers squeaking loudly against the linoleum, until he stopped in front of the main lobby's glass display case, the Wall of Honor. Every year, the school framed the photographs of the top 10 graduating seniors, alongside their official SAT scores and matriculating universities. Ethan threw himself against the glass, his eyes frantically scanning the rows of golden frames. At the very top, directly under the bold gold lettering that read Rank 1, Perfect Distinction, sat my portrait. Beside my picture were the official numbers printed in crisp black ink. Sera l'un SAT score, 1590. Matriculating university. Harvard University, full academic scholarship. Ethan's breath hitched. He staggered back a step, staring at the numbers in disbelief. 1590? He whispered, his voice shaking violently. No, that's impossible. She said she was retaking them. Chloe said she missed her questions. Ethan. The principal stepped out of his office, carrying a stack of files. Seeing Ethan standing frozen before the display, the principal offered a tight, disapproving sigh. I see you're looking at Sera's photo, the principal said, adjusting his glasses. A remarkable young woman. She scored in the 99th percentile. Nationwide. Harvard sent her acceptance letter 2 months ago. Ethan turned his head slowly, his eyes wild and bloodshot. 2 months ago? But she told me. She didn't tell you because she knew you through your own exams, the principal said coldly, looking over his spectacles at Ethan. We received your SAT score sheet, Ethan. You left 3 entire math sections blank on purpose. We all assumed you did it out of some bizarre adolescent rebellion, but to sacrifice your own future for, well, whatever this is. The principal shook his head, disgust clear in his tone. Sera came to my office 3 weeks ago to request her final transcripts. I asked her why she was leaving early without attending the senior gala. Do you know what she told me, Ethan? Ethan gripped the edge of the trophy display, his knuckles turning white. What did she say? She said, the principal spoke with deliberate clarity. I spent 3 years dragging a heavy stone up a mountain, thinking it was a companion. I just want to drop the stone and breathe. The principal walked past him, leaving the heavy silence of the hallway behind. Ethan stood alone under the fluorescent lights. A heavy stone. All those nights she had stayed up until 2 a.m. making color-coded flashcards for him. All those rainy weekends she had walked 7 miles to his house to explain calculus formulas he was too lazy to read. All those times he had belittled her, handed her drinks to Chloe, and made fun of her scar in front of crowds. She hadn't failed. She hadn't been dependent on him. She had been carrying him on her back the entire time. And the moment she stepped off the plane in Boston, she had unceremoniously dropped him into the dirt. Behind him, Chloe walked into the lobby, panting and fanning herself. Ethan, why did you run off like that? Everyone at orientation was looking at us. Ethan turned around slowly. For the first time, he looked at Chloe without the rose-tinted glasses of vanity. He saw her heavy makeup, her cheap, scheming eyes, her constant, whiny demands for free meals and luxury clothes. He remembered how she had torn Sera's Harvard letter, how she had stolen Sera's art exhibition tickets, how she had pushed him to bully the girl who had saved his life. You knew, Ethan said, his voice dropping into a dangerous, terrifying register. Chloe blinked, stepping back. What? You saw her changing her portal that night at the party. Ethan roared, stepping toward her, his face contorted in rage. You told everyone she was retaking the exam. You told me she was going to community college with us. You knew she was going to Harvard. I didn't. Chloe panicked, backing against the wall. Ethan, calm down. She was just showing off. She's an arrogant bitch who... Smack. Ethan slammed his hand against the wall right beside her head, the wood cracking under the impact. Don't you dare speak her name, Ethan breathed, his eyes black with hatred. Get out of my sight. Get out of my car. Don't ever speak to me again. Chloe gasped, her eyes filling with angry tears. Ethan Sinclair, you threw your own SATs for me. You can't just dump me. You don't have anyone else. Get out. Ethan screamed. Chloe sobbed, turning on her heel and running out of the building. Ethan sank down against the wooden wall, sliding into a heap on the cold floor, right beneath my portrait. He looked up at my picture. In the photo, I was smiling softly, my eyes clear, confident, and entirely focused on a future that had no place for him. 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. Autumn in Cambridge was breathtaking. The trees along the Charles River had turned deep shades of crimson and gold, and the ancient red brick quadrangles of Harvard were bustling with brilliant minds from around the globe. I had adapted quickly. My mornings were spent in advanced literature lectures. My afternoons were dedicated to working as a research assistant in the university's rare manuscript archive. Without the constant anxiety of pleasing Ethan, without the sleepless nights spent writing study guides for a boy who didn't care, my health rebounded completely. The color returned to my cheeks. My vocal cords healed, and my voice was smooth and clear once more. Lucas was a constant, comfortable presence in my life. We studied together in the Widener Library, ate warm soup at small bistros in Harvard Square, and walked along the river at sunset. He never made grand, dramatic promises, but he showed up every single day, consistent and steady. In late October, the university hosted the Eastern Collegiate Academic Symposium, a massive weekend gathering of student delegates from colleges across the country. I was selected as one of the chief student hosts, wearing a tailored dark, emerald green velvet dress that reached just above my knees. For the first time in 10 years, I didn't wear dark tights or long pants. The long, centipede-like scar on my right thigh was visible under the soft chandelier lights of the Annenberg Hall. It was a thick, pale pink line, a permanent reminder of a 10-year-old girl who had been brave enough to shield someone else from a falling iron sheet. It was no longer an ugly secret. It was a badge of courage. As I was organizing registration files at the front podium, a sudden commotion broke out near the hall entrance. I told you, sir, this area is restricted to registered delegates only, a campus security guard said firmly. I just need to see her. A raspy, exhausted voice pleaded. Please. I know. She's in there. I saw her name on the program schedule. I froze. I slowly lifted my eyes. Standing near the heavy oak doors, pushed back by 2 security officers, was Ethan. He looked unrecognizably wretched. He was wearing a faded, wrinkled jacket that looked like it hadn't been washed in weeks. His face was thin, his cheekbones hollow, his eyes surrounded by dark, bruised circles. His hair was messy, and he smelled faintly of cheap cigarettes and rain. When his eyes found me standing at the podium, his entire body shuddered. Sera, he gasped, pushing past the guard's arm with frantic strength. Sera, it's me. It's Ethan. The surrounding Harvard students turned to look, murmuring in quiet confusion. Lucas, who had been setting up microphone stands near the stage, immediately stepped down and moved to my side, his tall frame placing a quiet, protective barrier between Ethan and me. Sera, do you know this person? Lucas asked calmly, his eyes fixed on Ethan. I looked at Ethan. 2 months ago, seeing him would have triggered a storm of anger, humiliation, or sorrow in my chest. Now looking at his frantic, pathetic state, I felt nothing. Not a single spark of hatred. Not a single trace of grief. My heart was as flat and silent as a frozen lake. He was an acquaintance from my hometown, I said smoothly, my voice clear and polite, carrying across the quiet hall. He doesn't have a delegate badge. Security, Please escort him out so we can resume registration. An acquaintance? Ethan screamed, his voice cracking into a raw, pitiful shriek. Sera, how can you call me an acquaintance? I'm Ethan. I'm the boy you saved. The boy you loved for 10 years. He broke past the guard's grip, throwing himself toward the podium, falling to his knees right on the polished marble floor before the crowd of elite scholars. Sera, I was wrong. I was a fool. Ethan wept, hot tears streaming down his gaunt cheeks as he reached out a trembling hand toward the hem of my dress. Chloe tricked me. My mother forced me. I didn't mean to hurt you. I throw away my exams for you. I've been sleeping in my car for 3 days just to drive to Boston to find you. He looked up at my face, pleading like a condemned man begging a judge. Look at me, Sera. Please. Just look at me once. Like you used to. I stood behind the podium, looking down at him. My eyes drifted to his hand reaching toward my dress, then fell on my own right leg, the scar clearly visible under the hall lights. Ethan. I spoke softly, my voice devoid of any warmth or anger. Do you remember what you told everyone at the party 3 months ago? Ethan froze, his lips trembling. No. Please. You said. I recalled with terrifying precision. Trust me, it's the kind of scar you only want to see once in your life. Ethan choked on his breath, pulling at his hair, sobbing hysterically against the cold marble floor. I was lying. I was trying to impress people. It's beautiful, Sera. Your scar is the most beautiful thing in the world. It saved my life. No, I said, stepping back into the light beside Lucas, taking Lucas's hand into mine. It didn't save your life, Ethan. It saved mine. It reminded me never to waste my devotion on a monster again. I turned to the security officers. Please remove him. Sera. Ethan shrieked as the guards grabbed him by the shoulders, dragging him backward across the marble floor. Don't leave me, please. I have nothing left. Sera. His desperate, agonizing screams echoed through the tall wooden arches of Annenberg Hall, fading slowly as the heavy oak doors swung shut, locking him out. In the cold Boston rain, the legal fallout from my mother's lawsuit struck the Sinclair family with total, devastating force a month later, because Ethan and Chloe had destroyed rare, historic manuscripts left by my late father, items whose authenticity and value were certified by national appraisal boards. The court ruled the destruction as intentional, high-value grand larceny and property destruction. The total settlement, combined with legal fees and fines for physical assault, came to $42,000. To avoid prison time for her son, Karen Sinclair was forced to sell her suburban home at a massive loss, taking out high-interest loans to cover the remaining debt. She and Ethan were forced to move into a tiny, dilapidated one-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of town. Karen's pride was completely shattered. She took a job working double shifts at a local laundromat, her health rapidly deteriorating under the stress and shame. Chloe didn't stay to help. The moment she realized Ethan was broke and facing legal ruin, she dropped out of community college and fled to another state, taking what little money she had left to pursue another wealthy target. Ethan was left with nothing. He dropped out of school. He couldn't find a decent job with a felony investigation on his record. He spent his days sitting in his dark, tiny bedroom, staring at an old photo album he had dug out from his trash bin. Inside were hundreds of photos of us growing up. Sera holding an umbrella over his head in the rain. Sera handing him a thermos of hot soup when he had a cold. Sera sitting under his desk lamp, her eyes red with exhaustion, explaining math problems line by line. He held the photos against his chest, weeping in the dark until his throat was raw, realizing that the girl who would have given her life for him was gone forever. He had held a diamond in his hand and traded it for a handful of dirt. Epilogue. 3 years later. Spring arrived at Harvard. The cherry blossoms were blooming in full pink cascades along the Charles River banks. I stood on the steps of the Memorial Church, wearing a black graduation gown, draped with a crimson honors sash. My mother sat in the front row, wearing an elegant silk dress, holding a bouquet of fresh white roses, her eyes shining with tears of absolute joy. Beside her sat Lucas, looking sharp in a charcoal suit, smiling at me with quiet, unshakable warmth. After the ceremony ended, the graduating class gathered on the lawn to take photos. I walked over to the riverbank, holding my diploma tightly against my chest. A gentle breeze blew across the water, rustling the green leaves above. I looked down at my reflection in the river, a strong, beautiful, independent woman, standing tall under the bright blue sky. I reached down, pulling off the silk ribbon tied around my wrist, and let it drop into the clear water. The ribbon floated away, carried effortlessly by the current, drifting down the river toward the open, boundless sea. I turned around, took Lucas's outstretched hand, and walked forward into the Sunshine never looking back.